Hi there, this is the fourth vid that I'm seeking to do, just telling a bit of a story of these last years since I came off the road, and so much has happened. And if you watched the last one, I was just exploring the whole thing of biopower and the challenge of just making our way in life without selling out to the system, becoming just another cog in the wheel and really fodder for the global trade routes, and what a huge challenge that is, just for space to live and be creative. And I think if there's any area that is more needed than any other, it's the whole issue of housing. My eldest daughter Hannah and fabulous husband Chris have had a real struggle these last few years, seeking to move on from their 2 up, 2 down, in a part of Leeds where just the landlords just buy up everything so quickly, and so many times they've been beaten to the draw by the landlords who can wield the cash. And so they've been squeezed out of an area where they could have been brought so much to, in terms of the schools. Just need stable families, and yet they've had to now move on to another part of Leeds, which they're really thrilled about. But it just, to me, sums up the issue, which I touched actually when I went to the Outer Hebrides and did that dissertation back in my university days. Just the land clearances where wealth was put above people. Ever since that time, scriptures just I've carried so strongly was when Isaiah, that's his name, Isaiah, prophesied that woe to those who add house to house and field to field, till there's no place to lay your head. And if ever there was a time for that to echo through the portals of power, then this is such a time. I remember several years ago when my good friend Stewie Thomas, just on the way home on the bus, picked up a copy of the Daily Mail. Not that that was his sort of paper, but he opened the centrefold and there was a map of Britain, and it was colour-coded according to the value of property, and he just looked at it in disbelief and said, it's all locked up. The land is all locked up. And at that time, I didn't really understand him, because I lived in my own home. I was in charge of my own circumstances. But now as a tenant, I understand it so much more, that land is locked up. And perhaps we don't fully understand that issue as house owners till we make that transition. And I'm sat here in the car park of Lidl on the east side of Leeds, just outside the home we used to live in. It was the home where so many adventures took place or started, from this eastern gate that used to be a terminus for the trams. And, you know, we went on some great journeys from this home, but then we knew it was time to move on, and so we rented this out, and space was opened up for us on the farm, for which we're so grateful. And my brother eventually came to live in this home with his wife Therry, and they now see an incredible flow of international students through the home, some of the places we've walked through, and it's just a brilliant use of this large terraced house, which you might be able to see behind or over my shoulder. And we're now faced with a situation where our situation on the farm is getting increasingly precarious. We haven't got a lot of financial muscle, and yet we feel so strongly that it is not for us to squeeze out my brother, because in Scripture we see no place for ownership, we just see place for stewardship. That is, we're not called to own, we're called to steward. And at this moment in time, it would seem to me that John and Theory are doing a far better job than we could ever do of stewarding this home at this Eastern Gateway. And so that leaves us with a real challenge, to be honest, because money is tight and we've still got a young family, and so we need to act responsibly, and we've got all the challenges of staying close to the schools they're at. And yet, at these moments, do we default back to what is safe? And do we come under the system, or do we actually rise up to say, no, the earth is the Lord's? And so he can open up space, even when the economic powers, would say there is no space. And so this is, again, something that we are currently wrestling with. And the implications of this, I think, are enormous, actually, if you continue to go down this path. I always remember walking through Romford, and we stayed in a home, some elderly people, and they were on the verge of moving out of that home into rented accommodation, because they were aware that many younger generation people needing to find space just to get a start in life, and they were living in this great big home, and they felt we can't justify this is not good stewardship. And what an example in a day and age where it would seem to me space is being shut down for the generations behind. What an example. Older generation people say, no, we're going to live differently. We're going to give away space. We're going to have our comfort zones cut so that others can find a way through. And we just want to catch some of that same spirit ourselves. And I don't know, to be honest, whether I can hold into this place, because I can fill my pants on this one quite easily, but thankfully I won't right now. But that's the sort of challenge I would suggest we face if we're going to live life differently, from a different place, from a place of rest, from a place of knowing that heaven's flow is stronger. We can go on our journeys to Jeddah or Genoa or anywhere else and declare these great and wonderful things, but actually this is where it really cuts. This is where we got to just earth these issues in issues of ownership, and where our provision comes from. So my fourth vlog, and I'm desperate for a pee, so it's coming to an end right now.